The day I watched my daughter-in-law throw my dinner in the trash, and then, without hesitation, serve it to me with a smile. Something changed inside me. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't even let my hands tremble. Instead, I felt a slow, quiet fire begin to burn within me, a silent promise that this would be the last time I would be treated as if I were invisible. For over 60 years, my life has revolved around family, giving, sacrificing, loving without asking much in return. Yet here I am, realizing that sometimes the people you give everything to are the ones who will leave you with nothing. My name is Eleanor Miller, and this is my story about how I reclaimed what was always mine: my dignity. I used to think that being needed was the same as being loved. For 67 years, I built my life around that belief, wrapping myself in the warm illusion that my sacrifices meant something to the people I loved most. But this morning, standing in my kitchen watching my daughter-in-law Rachel arrange flowers she bought with money from my account, I begin to understand the difference. "Eleanor, could you move? You're blocking the light," says Rachel without looking up. That familiar tone of impatience in her voice. I step aside. My slippers barely make a whisper against the linoleum floor I scrubbed yesterday. "The yellow roses are beautiful," I comment. "They're for a special occasion. James's colleagues are coming for dinner tonight. I want everything to be perfect." She adjusts a stem with expert precision. "Remember I mentioned it last week?" I don't recall her mentioning it, but I nod anyway. It's easier than arguing. "Of course. What can I do to help?" Rachel finally looks at me, her eyes assessing me as if she were calculating something. "Actually, I have everything under control. Maybe you could? I don't know. Read with Lily or something? Keep yourself occupied." The dismissal stings, but I've grown accustomed to these small cuts. "I'd be happy to help Lily with her homework." "Great." Rachel turns back to her flowers. And just like that, I'm invisible again. I find Lily in the living room, sprawled on the carpet, with her math book open beside her. "Hi, Grandma," she says without looking up from her phone. "Mom says you're going to help me with homework today. Only if you need it, sweetie." I settle into my armchair, the one my late husband Richard gave me for my 60th birthday. It's the only piece of furniture in this house that is truly mine. "How are you doing with algebra?" Lily makes a face like I've suggested destroying her soul. "I don't understand why we need to learn this. When am I ever going to use it?" "You'd be surprised," I tell her, remembering the countless times I used those same skills to balance the family budget, calculate mortgage payments, and plan for James and Kevin's education. Math is everywhere, even when you don't realize it. She rolls her eyes but smiles. "You sound like Mr. Thompson. Your teacher is a smart man." I lean forward, studying the problems she's working on. "Would you like to show me where you're stuck?" "I got it," she exclaims, solving a particularly complicated problem. "Did you see that, Grandma? Did I really get it?" "You certainly did. I'm proud of you." She beams, and for an instant, the house feels warm again. But then James walks in, his tie loosened, and that look of weariness that seems to follow him everywhere lately. "Hi, Mom, Lily." He kisses his daughter's head, then glances at me. "Rachel said you're helping with homework." "We just finished," I tell him. "Lily is doing wonderfully with algebra." "That's great, honey." James's voice carries the distracted affection of a man with too many responsibilities. "Hey, about tonight," I begin gently. "Rachel said she has everything under control." Something flickers across James's face. Relief, perhaps? Or guilt. It's hard to tell these days. "Right, right. That's good." Lily watches us with a thoughtful expression. She's always been perceptive, more aware of the undercurrents of this house than the adults give her credit for. "Can Grandma eat with us? I mean, since it's a family dinner." "No." James's hesitation lasts only a moment. "Well, it's more of a work thing, honey. Rather boring adult stuff." Lily's face falls slightly. "Okay." I reach over and squeeze her hand. "Don't worry about me, sweetie. I'll find something to keep myself busy." But even as I say those words, something inside me rebels. When did I become someone who needed to be managed? Someone whose presence at the table required justification? Rachel appears in the doorway, as timely as ever. James. Perfect. I need you to run to the store for wine. The good kind. This is important for your career, remember? As they discuss wine selections, I watch my son transform into someone I barely recognize. Gone is the boy who told me everything, who climbed into my lap when he was scared or sad. In his place stands a man who looks to his wife as if she has all the answers, who barely glances at me unless Rachel prompts him to. After James leaves, Rachel turns to Lily. Homework finished? Grandma helped me complete it. Good. Rachel's gaze shifts to me with something calculating in her expression. Eleanor. About tonight. I think it would be easier if you had dinner in your room. You know how James's work friends can be. They can be particular. The words hit me like a punch. Particular. As if I were an embarrassing relative who couldn't be trusted in polite company. As if 45 years teaching English at the high school had never existed. As if I had never hosted dinners, had never engaged guests with conversation and stories. I understand, I hear myself say, though I understand nothing at all. Lily's head snaps up. What? Why can't Grandma eat with us? It's complicated, honey, Rachel says with that condescending tone she uses when she thinks she's being reasonable. Sometimes adults need to discuss boring work things. Grandma will be much more comfortable in her room, won't you, Eleanor? The question isn't really a question. It's a statement disguised as consideration. And we all know it. But what choice do I have? This is Rachel's house now. Even though my name is still on the deed. These are Rachel's rules. Even though I was the one who taught James how to tie his shoes and helped him pay for the business degree that landed him his current job. Of course, I say, rising slowly. I wouldn't want to intrude. Lily starts to protest, but Rachel cuts her off. Lily, come help me set the table. We need to make sure everything is perfect for Dad's friends. My phone vibrates, and I see a text message from my neighbor Susan. Haven't seen you in the garden lately? Everything okay? Busy with family matters. Talk soon, I reply quickly. But as I hit send, I realize I can't remember the last time I worked in my garden. When I stopped tending to the roses Richard planted for our anniversary. When I stopped doing the things that brought me joy. The front door opens, and Kevin's voice fills the hallway. Hello? Anyone home? My heart lightens. My younger son now lives in Chicago, but he's always stayed in better touch than James. Kevin, what are you doing here? He appears in the doorway, tall and broad, like his father, with the same tender gaze that made me fall in love with Richard all those years ago. Surprise visit? Had a conference in Detroit and wanted to see my favorite mother. Your only mother, I correct, but I smile as I rise to hug him. Details. He wraps me in the kind of embrace that reminds me what it feels like to be truly seen. You look good, Mom. Tired, but good. Before I can respond, Rachel re-enters the room, her expression shifting from irritation to forced joy. Kevin, what a surprise. We're having dinner with James's colleagues tonight. You should stay. Thanks for the offer, Kevin says, but he looks directly at me. Actually, I wanted to take Mom out to dinner. We see each other so rarely. Rachel's smile dims slightly. Well, I suppose that works. Eleanor was going to eat in her room anyway, so. The silence that follows is deafening. Rachel flushes. James emerges from the kitchen looking confused, and Lily hovers in the background, watching it all with those two perceptive eyes. It's easier, Rachel finally says. With James's work friends coming, and limited table space. There's limited space? Kevin looks around at the dining room that comfortably seats 8. How many people are you expecting? Well, 6. So there's room for 7. Rachel's jaw tightens. Kevin, don't you understand? This is important for James's career. We need to make a good impression. And having his mother at the table would make a bad impression? I watch this exchange with a mixture of gratitude and mortification. Kevin is fighting a battle I should be fighting, defending a dignity I have somehow lost along the way. Enough, I say quietly, but my voice carries enough authority to silence everyone. Please. Enough. Kevin turns to me with confusion and concern in his expression. Mom, don't you have to? Yes, I do. I straighten my shoulders, drawing on strength I had forgotten I possessed. Rachel is right. This is her dinner, her house, and she'll handle it as she sees fit. I don't want to cause trouble. But Mom? It's fine, Kevin. I pat his arm gently. Why don't you take me to that little Italian restaurant we like? I'd rather spend the evening with you anyway. Kevin's eyes search my face, and I know he sees more than I'm saying. He always was a perceptive child. All right, if that's what you want. As we gather our things to leave, I see Lily watching us from the staircase. She looks confused and sad, and my heart breaks a little more. This isn't the family dynamic I wanted her to grow up with. This isn't the legacy I wanted to leave. Have a good night, sweetheart, I tell her, giving her a quick hug. See you tomorrow. She nods but doesn't speak. Such a smart girl. She's learning to keep her observations to herself. In Kevin's rental car, driving through the familiar streets of my neighborhood, I finally allow myself to breathe. The silence between us is comforting, filled with understanding rather than judgment. Mom, he says finally as we pull into the restaurant parking lot. What's really going on at home? I look out the window at the other families entering the restaurant, all happy and connected. I think I'm disappearing, Kevin. Not dying, but disappearing, becoming invisible, one small slight at a time. He turns off the engine and looks at me intently. Talk to me. And for the first time in months, perhaps years, I do. I tell him about the thousands of small cuts, forgotten dinners, dismissed opinions, the gradual erosion of my place in the family I helped build. I tell him about feeling like a stranger in my own home, a burden rather than a blessing. Kevin listens without interrupting. His face darkens with each revelation. When I finish, he remains quiet for a long while. How long has this been happening? I don't know exactly. It was so gradual that at first I didn't notice. It's like gaining weight, isn't it? You don't see it day by day. But one morning, you look in the mirror and wonder who's looking back at you. Mom, you know this isn't right, don't you? You know you deserve better? The question hits me unexpectedly. I know. I just don't know when I started accepting less than I deserved. When I decided that keeping the peace was more important than keeping my dignity, I don't know. I admit, maybe I forgot. Kevin reaches over and takes my hand. Then it's time to remember. As we enter the restaurant, I catch my reflection in the glass doors. The woman looking back at me is still recognizable. Silver hair, neatly styled, well-coordinated clothes, and posture still straight despite everything. But there's something in her eyes that wasn't there before. A spark of something that dangerously resembles determination. Maybe Kevin is right? Maybe it's time to remember who Eleanor Miller really is. The evening with Kevin was exactly what I needed. We talked about his work, his girlfriend Melissa, his plans for the future. He tells me about the house he's thinking of buying, the promotion he's in line for, the life he's building 300 miles away from the dysfunction that has settled into his childhood home. You could come visit us, he says as we start on dessert. Stay as long as you want. Melissa would love to meet you in person. That's sweet of you, dear. But my life is here. Is it really? He leans forward with a serious expression. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you merely exist there. There's a difference. His words follow me home, echoing in my mind, as I quietly enter the house. The dinner is still in progress. I hear laughter from the dining room, the clinking of glasses, that animated conversation that accompanies good wine and professional networking. I pause outside the dining room door, listening to my son's voice as he tells a client story. He sounds confident, successful, happy. It's a side of James the First rarely see at home anymore, where he seems perpetually stressed and overwhelmed. James's mother lives with you, doesn't she? Asks a woman's voice. How do you manage that? I can't imagine having my mother-in-law underfoot all the time. I freeze, my hand gripping the banister. Eleanor is no trouble, replies Rachel's voice, and I can hear her smile. She's very reserved, very independent. We hardly notice she's here. The words cut deeper than any direct insult could. To be dismissed as harmless, invisible, insignificant, is somehow worse than being openly hated. At least hatred acknowledges your existence. You're lucky, chimes in another voice. My mother-in-law thinks she runs the house. Always has an opinion about everything. Well, Eleanor knows her place, Rachel says with a sharp tone. She's very good at not interfering. I climb the stairs to my bedroom. Each step feels heavier than the last. In the safety of my room, the only space in this house that is still truly mine, I sit on the edge of the bed and stare at myself in the vanity mirror. The woman looking back at me is a stranger. When did I become someone who knows her place? When did I accept that my place was to be invisible, to go unnoticed, to be grateful for any small crumb of attention I received? I think of Richard, of the promises we made to each other, of the life we built together. Would he recognize the woman I've become? Would he be proud of how I've handled our family since he's been gone? I open the drawer of my dresser and take out the small wooden box where I keep my most important documents. Birth certificate, marriage certificate, Richard's death certificate, and beneath them, the documents Rachel doesn't know about, the ones that could change everything if I had the courage to use them. Property deeds, bank statements, investment portfolios. The financial backbone of the Miller family, all in my name, all managed discreetly and carefully for the benefit of those who have forgotten what I've given them. Tomorrow I think I'll call my old friend Susan. It's time to stop being invisible. It's time to remind my family, and myself, who Eleanor Miller really is. As the dinner continues below, I sit in my room making plans. The quiet fire that began to burn in the kitchen this morning grows stronger, fueled by years of accumulated hurt and a sudden dazzling clarity about what I deserve. I am no longer grateful for crumbs. I am no longer accepting less than my worth. I am no longer being invisible in my own life. It's time to reclaim my dignity, one truth at a time. The morning after the dinner, I wake before dawn with a clarity I haven't felt in years. The house is still quiet, but my mind teems with memories I've tried to put aside. All the sacrifices that somehow became invisible. All the contributions that were forgotten as soon as they were made. Eleanor knows her place. The phrase echoes in my head, each repetition stoking the fire that started yesterday. You're up early. James's voice pulls me from my thoughts. He appears in the doorway, already dressed for work, his tie perfectly knotted. Couldn't sleep? I tell him, pouring a second cup of coffee. How was the dinner? Good. Really good. He accepts the cup gratefully. And for an instant, he looks like the boy I used to make breakfast for every morning before school. Braddock from the firm was impressed with the presentation I've been working on. It might lead to that promotion I've been hoping for. That's wonderful, James. I'm proud of you. He smiles, and it's genuine. Thanks, Mom. I know I don't say it enough, but I appreciate everything you do for us, for the family. The irony of his words doesn't escape me. What do I do for the family, James? The question seems to catch him off guard. Well, you help with Lily and take care of the house. His voice trails off, searching for details that apparently don't come easily. When was the last time you asked my opinion on something important? I ask quietly. When was the last time you included me in a family decision? James's face flushes slightly. Mom, you know Rachel handles most of the house stuff. She's better at organizing. I'm not talking about organizing. I'm talking about being treated as a member of this family rather than a fixture. Is this about last night? Because that was more of a work thing. No, James, this is about the last 3 years. This is about watching myself disappear a little more each day, and wondering when I stopped fighting. He looks at me as if I'm speaking a foreign language. I don't understand. You seem fine. You never complain about anything. And why do you think that is? Before he can answer, Rachel bursts into the kitchen, already dressed and made up despite the early hour. She moves with expert efficiency, pulling ingredients from the refrigerator and preparing Lily's lunch. "Good morning, Eleanor," she says without looking at me. "James, did you remember to pick up the dry cleaning yesterday?" "No, sorry. I got caught up with dinner prep and forgot." Rachel's sigh is theatrical. "Then I'll have to do it myself. Again." I observe this exchange and notice the fluidity with which Rachel positions herself as the overburdened homemaker, while James plays the forgetful partner who can't be trusted with simple tasks. It's a dynamic I've watched countless times, but now I see it with new eyes. "I can pick up the dry cleaning?" I offer. The dismissal is polite but firm. She rejects my offer of help, not because it's unnecessary, but because accepting it would undermine Rachel's narrative of being indispensable. "Morning, Grandma. Morning, Mom. Morning, Dad. Breakfast is ready," Rachel announces, sliding a plate of eggs and toast toward Lily. "Eat quickly, we can't be late again." Lily sits down, and I notice she automatically takes the orange juice I poured for her earlier. It's a small detail, but Rachel doesn't acknowledge it. The preparation simply becomes part of her efficient morning routine. "I'd love to help you, sweetheart. It's just oral history," Lily says quickly. "Interviewing family members about their experiences. Nothing complicated." I notice how Lily downplays the assignment, making it seem less important than it probably is. She's learned to navigate her mother's need to control every aspect of her education, finding ways to get what she needs without triggering Rachel's interference. After James and Lily leave for work and school, Rachel and I are left alone in the kitchen. She wipes down the already clean countertops with precise, determined movements. "Eleanor, we need to talk about the grocery expenses," she says without preamble. "The bills have been higher than usual, and with James's promotion not guaranteed, we need to be more careful with spending." I set my coffee cup down carefully. "What kind of expenses concern you?" "Well, that's specialty coffee you like, for starters. And those expensive yogurts. And I noticed you bought organic vegetables last week when the regular ones were perfectly fine." Each item she mentions costs perhaps $2 or $3 more than the alternative. The total extravagance she describes amounts to about $15 weekly. In the context of a family budget, it's insignificant, but that's not the point of this conversation. "Rachel, do you know how much money I contribute to this household each month?" She seems genuinely surprised by the question. "Well, you don't pay rent or utilities, so." "I'm not referring to what I save. I'm referring to how much I contribute from my own accounts." Her pause tells me everything I need to know. She doesn't know because she's never bothered to ask. The money simply appears to cover Lily's piano lessons, supplement the grocery budget, pay for house repairs, without Rachel having to think about where it comes from. "You're right," I tell her. "We should be aware. Very aware." Something in my tone makes her look at me more closely. "What do you mean?" "I mean I'll be more careful with my spending in the future." "Much more careful." Rachel nods, apparently satisfied she's made her point. But as she leaves the kitchen to start her day, I see her head turning. She's not quite sure what just happened, but she senses it wasn't exactly what she intended. I spend the morning in my bedroom reviewing papers I haven't looked at in months: bank statements, investment portfolios, property deeds, the financial skeleton that holds this family together. As I go through the figures, a picture emerges that would surprise everyone in this house except me. The mortgage payments that automatically debit from my account each month. The property taxes I pay without mentioning it. The home equity line of credit that covered James's MBA program. The loan that helped Rachel start her consulting business. A loan that was never formally documented and has never been repaid. I've been so discreet with money, so determined not to make anyone feel indebted or guilty, that I've hidden my contributions. The family operates under the premise that James's salary covers everything, that Rachel manages the budget, and I just contribute minimal amounts for my personal expenses. It's a comfortable fiction for everyone except me. My phone rings, interrupting my calculations. Susan's name appears on the screen. "Hello, stranger," she says when I answer. "Haven't seen you in days. Everything okay over there?" Susan Parker has been my best friend since we moved to this neighborhood 15 years ago. She's 2 years older than me, more acerbic, and has never had much patience for what she calls family drama. Her children live on the opposite coast, and she and her husband Tom have built a life centered around their own interests and friendships, rather than waiting for family members to need them. "I'm fine," I start to say, but then I stop myself. Actually, no, I'm not fine. What's going on? I tell her about last night, the dinner conversation, this morning's discussion about grocery expenses. As I speak, I feel a shift inside me, the relief of finally saying these things aloud to someone who won't try to justify them or minimize their impact. "My God, Eleanor," Susan says when I finish. "How long have you been putting up with this?" I'm not sure exactly. It happened gradually, bit by bit. It's not that simple. You're paying half their bills, and they're treating you like a charity case? Sounds pretty simple to me. I don't want to cause problems in James's marriage. What about the problems in your life? When did their comfort become more important than your dignity? The question hangs in the air between us. When did their comfort become more important than my dignity? I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but I know it happened. At some point, I decided that keeping the peace was worth any price, even if that price was my self-respect. "Susan, can I ask you something?" "Shoot. Do you think I'm weak?" "Eleanor Miller," Susan finally says with a fierce voice. "You are one of the strongest women I know. You raised 2 sons as a single mother after Richard died. You went back to teaching full-time to support your family. You got both boys through college. You helped them start their careers. You've been the backbone of that household for years. Then why do I feel so powerless? Because you forgot your own strength? Because you've been so busy taking care of others that you forgot to take care of yourself?" After hanging up, I sit in the silence of my bedroom and think about Susan's words. Have I forgotten my own strength? Or have I simply chosen not to use it? I think about my teaching career, how I commanded respect in the classroom, the parents who sought my advice, and the students who still send Christmas cards years after graduating. I think about how I faced Richard's illness and death, the strength I found when I had no choice but to be strong. That woman is still here. She's been dormant, buried beneath years of trying to be pleasant and accommodating, but she's still here. Lily arrives home from school while I'm still in my bedroom, and I hear her backpack hit the floor in the hallway. "Grandma," she calls. "In my room, sweetie?" She appears in my doorway with her face bright, with the energy of a 13-year-old who's had a good day at school. "Ready to work on my history project?" "Of course, but first, tell me about your day." We sit on my bed with her notebook spread between us, and Lily launches into a detailed account of her classes, her friends, the drama that seems to follow 8th graders everywhere. As she talks, I'm struck by how different she is when we're alone, more animated, more herself. "And about this project," she says finally, "I need to interview someone who lived through World War II, or who knew someone who lived through it. You always tell those stories about Grandpa Richard's father. I'd love to share those stories with you. But Lily, let me ask you something first. Why didn't you want your mother to know about this project? Like, she'll want to research the best way to do the project, and review my outline, and make sure I'm presenting it the right way. And by the time she's done helping, it's not really my project anymore." I study my granddaughter's face, seeing in it a wisdom that shouldn't exist in someone so young. She's learned to protect her autonomy, to carve out spaces where she can be herself, without needing supervision or improvements. That must be exhausting. Sometimes, but it's okay. She just wants me to do well. "And what do you want, Lily?" The question seems to surprise her. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what do you want for yourself?" Not what your parents want for you, not what you think you should want. What does Lily Miller want? She's quiet for a long time, twirling a pencil. I want to feel like I'm good at things without having to prove it all the time. I want to make mistakes without it being a big deal. I want to have my own ideas without someone trying to fix them. My heart breaks a little. For this girl who learned so young that her thoughts need fixing, that her mistakes are catastrophes to be prevented rather than learning experiences to be faced. You know what, Lily? Your ideas are perfectly fine just as they are. And your project is going to be wonderful because it comes from you. She smiles. And for a moment she looks exactly like James at her age, hopeful and uncertain, and trying so hard to be good. We spend the next 2 hours working on her project. I tell her about Richard's father, who served in the Pacific during the war, about the letters he sent home, about the man who returned transformed by what he had seen but determined to build something better for his family. Lily takes notes attentively, asks thoughtful questions, and gradually relaxes, settling into the rhythm of our conversation. This is how learning should be. Curiosity meeting knowledge. Questions leading to understanding. Of course. Are you okay? I mean, you seem different lately, sadder. The perceptiveness of her question catches me off guard. What makes you think I'm sad? I don't know. You used to hum while you cooked, and you don't do that anymore. And you spend more time in your room. And yesterday when Mom said you couldn't eat with us, you looked, I don't know, hurt. I search for honest words without burdening her with adult problems. Sometimes, Lily, people forget to see us clearly. They get so wrapped up in their own lives that they forget we have feelings and needs too. That's what's happening to me. Maybe a little. She's quiet for a moment, absorbing this. That's not fair. No, it's not. But life isn't always fair. The question is, what do we do when it isn't? What are you going to do? I look at this brave, thoughtful girl, and I realize I owe her more than just acceptance of disrespect. I owe her an example of what it means to stand up for yourself, to demand the dignity you deserve. I'm going to remember that I'm worth more than I've been settling for, I tell her, and I'm going to do something about it. Lily nods solemnly. Good. You deserve better, Grandma. Out of the mouths of babes? If a 13-year-old can see what the adults in this house have forgotten, perhaps it's time for the adults to remember. That night, as Rachel prepares dinner with her usual bustle, I make a decision. Instead of retreating to my room, as I've been doing lately, I set the table for 4 and take my usual seat. That's fine. I'm not very hungry anyway. But I don't move. I sit at the table with hands folded, waiting. Rachel looks at me, then at Lily, then back at me. I mean, there might be enough, she finally says. If you don't mind smaller portions? I don't mind at all. It's a small victory, barely worth mentioning. But as I sit at my dining room table, having dinner with my granddaughter, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. I feel like I belong here. It's a start. The breaking point comes on a Thursday that begins like any other. Rain taps against the kitchen windows as I prepare Lily's breakfast. The familiar rhythm of morning routines masks the tension that has been building in this house for weeks. Rachel enters the kitchen already dressed for success, her navy blazer perfectly pressed, her makeup flawless. Despite the early hour, she's been preparing thoroughly for 3 days, planning tonight's dinner for James's colleagues with the precision of a military operation. Eleanor, I need you to stay out of the kitchen today, she announces, pulling ingredients from the refrigerator. I have everything perfectly calculated and I can't afford interruptions. I pause as I butter Lily's toast. Of course. Can I help with anything? Actually, yes. Rachel turns to look at me, and there's something in her expression that unnerves me. I need you to stay upstairs this afternoon. Completely upstairs. I'm having the dining room professionally cleaned and the last thing I need is footprints on the carpet before tonight. The dismissal stings, but I nod. I understand. Good. And tonight, obviously, you'll be dining in your room. I can't have distractions during dinner. Lily looks up from her cereal, frowning. But Grandma always eats with us. Not tonight, honey. This is a very important dinner for Dad's career. Rachel's voice has that cheerful, condescending tone she uses when she wants to seem reasonable without actually being reasonable. Grandma understands, don't you, Eleanor? Of course, I hear myself say, automatic words after years of practice, but something in Lily's expression, a mixture of disappointment and confusion, makes me reflect. What example am I setting by accepting this treatment? The day passes in exile. I spend the afternoon in my bedroom, listening to the sounds of preparation, furniture being moved, delivery trucks arriving, Rachel's voice growing more shrill as the pressure mounts. Through my window, I watch her direct the cleaning crew with military precision, pointing out invisible flaws in their work. By 5 a.m., the house has been transformed. From my bedroom window, I can see into the dining room, where crystal glasses reflect the light from Rachel's carefully placed candles. The table is set for 8, not 9, I notice. My usual place has been erased as completely as if it had never existed. Everything looks amazing, honey. You've outdone yourself. Thank you. I think Braddock will be impressed, and Eleanor will be dining upstairs tonight. I thought it would be easier. There's a pause. Right. That's probably for the best. The casual disdain in my son's voice hurts more than Rachel's orchestrated exclusion. At least Rachel's behavior is calculated. James's acceptance feels like genuine indifference. The guests arrive at 7 a.m., and their voices fill the house with the animated chatter of professional networking. I recognize some voices from previous gatherings: James's supervisor, his ambitious colleague, Sarah, the regional manager whose approval James has been seeking for months. I try to read, but the words blur on the page. I try to watch television, but I can't focus on the screen. Instead, I find myself listening to the sounds of my own life happening without me. At 8:30, there's a soft knock on my door. Grandma, it's me. Lily enters my room, still dressed in her school uniform. Mom says I should go to bed early tonight, but I wanted to see you first. How are you? I'm fine, sweetie. How was dinner? Boring. She settles on the edge of my bed with a worried expression. Everyone talked about work stuff I don't understand, and Mom made me sit there, smile, and be polite, but she wouldn't let me say anything interesting. I'm sorry it wasn't fun for you. It would have been better if you were there. You always know how to talk to people. You make everyone feel comfortable. Her words hit me unexpectedly. When did I stop believing that about myself? When did I start accepting that my presence was a liability rather than an asset? Sure. Do you think less of me for accepting this? For letting your mother exclude me from family dinners? Lily's eyes widen. What? No, I think it's stupid and mean. I don't understand why Mom thinks having you at dinner would be embarrassing. You're smart and funny, and you know more about everything than most adults. Then why don't I stand up for myself? The question surprises us both. Lily studies my face with that unsettling perceptiveness that seems to be her trademark. Maybe because you love us too much to make waves, she suggests. But Grandma, sometimes you have to make waves. Sometimes it's the only way to get where you need to go. Out of the mouths of babes, my 13-year-old granddaughter has just articulated something I struggle to understand about myself. After Lily goes to bed, I stay in my room listening as the dinner winds down. Conversation becomes more animated as the wine flows, punctuated by laughter that reminds me how much I miss. Not just tonight, but in general. Around 10 a.m., I hear the scrape of chairs, goodbyes, car doors slamming. The party is over, and apparently, it was a success. My stomach growls, reminding me I haven't eaten since lunch. I've been waiting for someone to bring me a plate, but as the house grows quieter, it becomes evident that no one is coming. Eleanor, she glances up briefly. How was your evening? Quiet. I was wondering if there might be something to eat. Rachel's hands pause on the plates she's loading. Well, there might be something. Let me see what I can find. She opens the refrigerator, looks inside for a moment, then closes it. Actually, it looks like we finished everything. You know how these work dinners are. Everyone eats more than expected. My stomach tightens, but not from hunger. But wait, Rachel's voice takes on that cheerful, helpful tone I've learned to distrust. I think there might be something from last night. She opens the trash can and peers inside. Then she reaches in and pulls out a plastic container. Here we go. There's some of that takeout pasta left. It's probably still good. I stare at the container in her hands, the stains on the outside. How she holds it away from her body, as if it might contaminate her. She's offering me food from the garbage. She's actually offering me trash as if it were a favor. You want me to eat food from the trash? Rachel's expression doesn't change, but something glints in her eyes. It's not really trash. It was just on top. I threw it out by mistake earlier. It's still in the container. The lie is so casual, so smooth, that I almost admire her audacity. But I also recognize it for what it is, a test. She's pushing to see how much I'll accept, how far I'll let myself be pushed. For a moment the kitchen is silent, except for the hum of the dishwasher. Rachel stands there, holding out the garbage with an expectant expression. She's waiting for me to thank her for her generosity, to accept this gift with gratitude. Instead, I feel something crystallize inside me with perfect clarity. Thank you, Rachel, I say with a firm, clear voice. How thoughtful of you to think of me. I take the container from her hands, noting the surprise that registers on her face. She expected resistance, perhaps tears, but certainly not gracious acceptance. No problem, she says carefully. I just hate to see food wasted. Of course. Who doesn't? I smile at her, and I see her confusion grow. This isn't going according to her plan. I carry the container to the counter and open it, examining the contents with the same attention I would give to an exquisite meal. The pasta is dried out. It smells sour, obviously spoiled, but I arrange it on a plate as if it were a delicacy, adding a napkin and silverware with meticulous care. Well, I'll leave you to clean up, I tell her. Thank you again for thinking of me, Rachel. She nods, but watches me with the wariness of someone who senses she has miscalculated. Of course. Good night, Eleanor. I carry my plate upstairs, feeling her gaze fixed on me the entire way. In the safety of my room, I throw the spoiled food into the bathroom wastebasket and sit on the bed with the empty plate in my lap. The humiliation is complete. My daughter-in-law has served me garbage, literally garbage, in my own house, while my son entertained his colleagues in my dining room. Seated at my table, the woman who helped pay for this house, who contributed to the success being celebrated tonight, has been relegated to eating trash in exile. But curiously, I don't feel humiliated. I feel something entirely different. A cold, clear anger that seems to sharpen my vision rather than cloud it. This is the last time. The last time I'll accept such treatment. Rachel has demanded too much. She has shown her true colors too clearly. She has given me something valuable without realizing it. Moral clarity. Mom, is everything okay? No, Kevin, it's not okay. And I need you to come back home. I tell him about tonight. The exile, the garbage, the casual cruelty delivered with a smile. As I speak, I hear my son's breathing grow ragged with anger. She did what? She actually gave you food from the trash? She did. Your father wasn't there. He was entertaining guests. Important guests. The silence on the other end of the line stretches so long that I wonder if he's hung up. Kevin? I'm here, Mom. I'm just trying to process this. I knew things were bad. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. I need you to come home. Not for a visit, but to come and help me figure out how to handle this. I'll be on a plane tomorrow. Kevin, don't you have to? Yes, I do. This has gone on long enough. Eleanor, what's wrong? I tell her about tonight, about the garbage, about Rachel's smile as she served me spoiled food. Susan's silence is more eloquent than any words. I'm coming over, she says finally. It's too late. What the hell? I'm coming over right now. 15 minutes later, Susan appears at my door in her robe and slippers, her face furious with indignation. Show me, she demands. I lead her to the bathroom wastebasket, where the spoiled pasta lies as evidence of a crime. Susan stares at it for a long time, then turns to me with an expression I've never seen on her before. Eleanor Miller, are you fed up? Are you fed up with accepting this treatment? With making excuses for people who don't deserve them? With being grateful for crumbs? Do you hear me? Are you fed up? I am. I think I finally am. Good. Because tomorrow we're going to start fixing this. We're going to remind everyone in this house who Eleanor Miller is and what she's worth. How? Susan's smile is sharp as a blade. Leave it to me. But first, we need to gather information. How much do you contribute to this house? Real figures. I retrieve my financial records, spreading them across the bed like a battle plan. Susan reviews them with the methodical attention of someone who knows exactly what she's looking for. I've tried to be discreet about money. I didn't want anyone to feel obligated or guilty. Well, discretion is about to go out the window. They want to treat you like a charity case. Let's see what they think when the charity stops. We spend the next hour reviewing everything: bank statements, property deeds, investment accounts. The picture that emerges is one of financial interdependence that no one in this family understands except me. Here's what we're going to do, Susan says finally. Tomorrow, while everyone is at work and school, we're going to have a little meeting. Just you, me, and the truth. And then we'll decide how to proceed. After Susan leaves, I sit alone in my bedroom, surrounded by the evidence of my financial contributions to this family. For the first time in years, I feel like I have a choice. I can continue to accept unacceptable treatment from strangers in my own home, or I can remind my family that relationships are built on mutual respect. I think of Lily's words. Sometimes you have to make waves. Sometimes it's the only way to get where you need to go. She's right. And tomorrow, this boat is going to rock like a hurricane. I prepare for bed with an anticipation I haven't felt in years. Tomorrow, Eleanor Miller will remember who she is. And more importantly, she'll make sure everyone else remembers too. The garbage in the wastebasket catches my eye as I brush my teeth. Rachel's peace offering. The final straw. Thank you, Rachel, I whisper to my reflection. You've given me exactly what I needed. Tomorrow, the reckoning begins. That night, I can't sleep. I lie in bed staring at the ceiling as my mind replays years of accumulated slights and compromises, seeing them with new clarity. The garbage incident seems like a grotesque moment at the end of a very long, sad sentence. But it's also a beginning. I'm in the kitchen making coffee when James appears, already dressed for work, his movements hurried and distracted. Morning, Mom. Did you sleep well? I study his face for any awareness of what happened last night, any acknowledgement that his mother was given garbage to eat while he entertained his colleagues. There's nothing, no guilt, no concern, no recognition that anything unusual occurred. Fine. I tell him. How was the dinner? Great, really great. Braddock was impressed with the quarterly projections. And Sarah mentioned the partnership opportunity we've been discussing. His enthusiasm is genuine, and for a moment he looks like the ambitious young man I raised. I think this could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for. That's wonderful, James. I'm proud of you. He smiles, accepting the praise as his due. Thanks. I know it's been a lot of work, all these networking dinners and presentations, but it's finally paying off. Yes, all that work, I repeat, thinking of who actually paid for the networking dinners, in whose house the colleagues were entertained, and what contributions made the success possible. James gulps down his coffee and checks his watch. I should get going. Oh, and Rachel mentioned she wants to talk about the house budget tonight. Something about cutting unnecessary expenses. The irony is stunning. The woman who served me garbage wants to lecture me about expenses. Of course. We should all be mindful of our spending. After James leaves, I sit at the kitchen table with my coffee and my thoughts. The house feels different in the morning light. Not like a home where I'm welcome, but like a place where I'm tolerated, as long as I remain invisible. Rachel appears an hour later, already dressed for her day, moving through the kitchen with her usual efficiency. She barely registers my presence, but I catch her watching me with what might be curiosity or caution. "Did you sleep well?" she asks, opening the refrigerator. "Very well, thank you. And thank you again for dinner last night. It was illuminating." Rachel's hands freeze on the milk carton. Illuminating, clarifying might be a better word. Sometimes we need to see things clearly to understand our situation. She turns to face me, and I can see her trying to read my expression. "I don't know what you mean. I mean that I now understand my place in this family much better, and I intend to act accordingly." The statement hangs between us, ambiguous enough to be interpreted in multiple ways, but specific enough to carry weight. Rachel's expression shifts from confusion to something sharper. "Eleanor, if you're upset about something, I'm not upset at all. Quite the contrary. I'm very clear." Lily bursts into the kitchen, her backpack bouncing against her hip. "Morning, Grandma." "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, sweetheart." I rise to pour her orange juice, noticing how she automatically expects it to be ready, how the small act of care has become invisible. "Grandma, are you okay?" Lily asks, sitting down with her cereal. "You look different today." "Do I? How?" "I don't know. You seem— I don't know how to describe it, like you've made a decision." The perceptiveness of this child never ceases to amaze me. "Perhaps I have made a decision. Sometimes it's necessary." Rachel narrows her eyes. "What kind of decision?" "Just household matters. Nothing that would interest you." But Rachel is interested. She now stays in the kitchen longer than usual, finding small tasks to keep her there while she observes me. She senses something has changed, but she can't identify what or to what extent. After Rachel and Lily leave, I call Susan. "How do you feel this morning?" "Clear, surprisingly clear." "Good. I've been thinking about our conversation last night, and I have some ideas. I can come to your house." "Please do." Susan arrives in less than an hour with a manila folder in her hand, and the expression of someone who has been planning a campaign. "I've been researching," she announces, sitting at my kitchen table. "What kind of research?" "The kind that's gonna change everything." She opens the folder, revealing printouts and handwritten notes. "I called my nephew. Remember Tommy, the lawyer? I asked him some hypothetical questions about financial contributions to family households." My stomach tightens. "Susan, I'm not sure I want to involve lawyers." She spreads the papers across the table like a battle plan. "Let's start with the house. It's in your name, right?" "Mine and James's jointly." "Is it? And you've been paying the mortgage. How long?" "Since Richard died." 12 years. 12 years of mortgage payments, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, all from your accounts." Susan's finger traces down a column of numbers. "And the utilities?" "I pay about 60%. The highest bills: heating, electricity, water. Household expenses: I buy most of the groceries, pay for Lily's activities, and cover maintenance and repairs." Susan leans back in her chair, studying the figures. "Eleanor, you're not a dependent in this household. You're the primary contributor, perhaps the primary breadwinner." The words hit me with unexpected force. I've considered myself a burden, someone whose presence required justification, and whose needs were secondary to others' comfort. But looking at these figures, a different picture emerges. I've never thought of it that way. Because you've been conditioned not to. But the point is, you have options. Real options. You could sell this house tomorrow and buy something smaller for yourself. You could stop paying for Lily's piano lessons and Rachel's business expenses. You could live comfortably on your own resources. The idea is both terrifying and liberating. Would be fine. Kids are resilient, and Lily loves you. That won't change, no matter where you live or how much money you contribute to this household. Susan pulls out another sheet of paper. I also looked into elder financial abuse. It's more common than people think, and it's not always obvious. Sometimes it's as simple as family members taking someone's contributions for granted and treating them poorly. Do you think that's what's happening here? I think you've been supporting people who forgot to support you. And I think last night was a wake-up call you can't ignore. We spend the next hour going through my financial records in detail. The picture that emerges is one of systematic contribution, without acknowledgement, money flowing from my accounts to support a family that has forgotten to value the one providing it. This is what I think you should do, Susan says finally. I think you should call a family meeting, not a casual conversation or a gradual revelation. A formal meeting where you lay out exactly what you contribute to this household and what you expect in return. That sounds very confrontational. Good. Sometimes confrontation is necessary. You've tried being accommodating, and look where it got you, eating garbage in your own home. The memory of last night's humiliation burns bright. Susan is right. Accommodation has only led to worse treatment. What would I say in this meeting? The truth. How much you contribute financially, how you've been treated, what needs to change for you to continue living here. And if they don't want to change? Susan's smile is fierce. Then you have other options. But Eleanor, I don't think we'll get to that. I think your family has forgotten who you are and what you're worth. Sometimes people need to be reminded. My phone buzzes with a message from Kevin. Flight lands at 3. Should I rent a car or will someone pick me up? I show Susan the message, who smiles. Perfect timing. Having Kevin here will change everything. Rachel has never intimidated him, and he loves you too much to let this continue. I told him about last night. He was upset. I bet he was. Your younger son has his head on straight. Unlike some people I could mention, we spend the rest of the morning preparing for what Susan calls the reckoning. She helps me organize my financial records so there'll be clear, irrefutable evidence of my contributions. We draft talking points, anticipate objections, and prepare for any possible response. The key, Susan explains, is to stay calm and objective. Don't get emotional. Don't apologize. Don't let them make you feel guilty for speaking up. You're not asking for charity. You're demanding the respect you've earned. At 2:30, I drive to the airport to pick up Kevin. I spot him immediately at baggage claim, tall and broad like his father, but with my eyes and stubborn chin. When he sees me, his face transforms relief and rage in equal measure. Mom! He hugs me so tightly I feel at home. How are you holding up? Better than I expected, clearer than I've been in years. Kevin studies my face with the same intensity Lily showed this morning. You look different. What's changed? I remembered who I am, and I decided that's no longer negotiable. On the drive home, I tell Kevin about the morning's revelations, the financial records, Susan's research, the plan for a family meeting. He listens without interrupting, his jaw tightening with each detail. My God, Mom. I knew things were bad, but I had no idea how bad they were. You've been supporting them for years while they treated you like a dependent. I allowed it. I let it happen because I thought keeping the peace was more important than keeping my dignity. That's not enabling, that's love. But love has to be mutual. And yours seems to have been pretty one-sided. We pull into the driveway and find Rachel's car already there. She's come home early, probably curious about Kevin's sudden visit. Ready for this? Kevin asks. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of years of accumulated hurt and the lightness of finally deciding to do something about it. I'm ready. Rachel greets us at the door with a bright but cautious smile. Kevin, what a surprise. I wish we'd known you were coming. We could have planned something special. This is special enough, Kevin responds with a carefully neutral tone. I needed to see Mom. Of course. Well, come in, come in. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Something to eat? Her solicitude is so different from her usual treatment that it's almost comical. In Kevin's presence, Rachel transforms into the perfect daughter-in-law, attentive and welcoming. Thanks, but I'm fine. Is James home yet? He should be soon. Lily's at piano lessons, so we'll have some quiet time to catch up. Susan appears at the back door, having entered through the garden gate as she's done for years. I hope you don't mind the intrusion, but I wanted to meet Kevin properly. Rachel's smile tightens almost imperceptibly. She's never been comfortable with Susan, perhaps sensing that my friend sees through the image she's crafted. Of course not, Susan. This is Kevin, James's brother. Kevin, this is our neighbor, Susan Parker. Your mother is very special to me, Susan responds with her gaze fixed on Rachel. We've been through a lot together. The undercurrent in the room is almost visible. Rachel knows something is happening, but she can't identify the threat. Kevin and Susan stand united in support of me, but they're carefully polite. And I'm at the center of it all, feeling more composed than I have in years. James arrives home 20 minutes later, and his face lights up when he sees Kevin. Kev, what are you doing here? Why didn't you tell us you were coming? Made an impulsive decision. I needed to see Mom. James's expression shifts slightly. Instinct warns him this isn't purely a social visit. Is everything okay? That depends, says Kevin. We need a family meeting. All of us. Tonight. A family meeting? Rachel's voice has a forced lightness. How formal. What's the occasion? I stand up, feeling the weight of years of silence lift from my shoulders. I have some things to say, and I need everyone to hear them. The room falls silent. Rachel and James exchange glances, a communication I can't decipher, but I see wariness growing in their faces. Of course, Mom, James says finally. If you need to talk about anything, we're here to listen. Good. Thank you, Susan. Would you mind staying? I'd like you to be here for this. I'd be honored. Lily arrives home after her piano lessons and finds the house filled with tension and adults speaking in careful, measured tones. She immediately senses that something important is happening. What's going on? Why is everyone so serious? We're going to have a family meeting, sweetie. I tell her. Nothing bad. Just some things we need to talk about. Lily nods, but her gaze is penetrating and understanding. She sits next to me on the sofa, a gesture of solidarity that doesn't go unnoticed by anyone in the room. Well, says Rachel, with a voice brightened by false cheer. How exciting. It's been ages since we had a formal family conversation. Kevin and Susan sit across from James and Rachel, creating a clear division in the room. Lily remains at my side, her presence comforting me and reminding me what's at stake. I look around at these people who make up my world. My sons, my granddaughter, the woman who joined our family through marriage, the friend who has supported me through everything. In a few minutes, I will change all our relationships forever. The thought should terrify me, but instead it fills me with a sense of rightness I haven't felt in years. Thank you all for being here. I begin with a firm, clear voice. I have some things to say that I should have said a long time ago, and I need everyone to listen carefully, because after tonight, things are going to be different. The reckoning has begun. I reach for the manila folder Susan brought earlier, my hand steady despite the magnitude of what I'm about to reveal. The weight of silence in the room is palpable. Even Lily seems to understand that what comes next will change everything. Before I start, I say, I want everyone to know that I love this family. Everything I'm going to share comes from love, not anger. But love without respect is unsustainable, and respect without truth is impossible. James shifts uncomfortably on the sofa. Mom, what's going on? You're kind of scaring me a little. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm trying to save our family from a dysfunction that's been growing for years. Rachel's posture is rigid, her hands folded in her lap like a student waiting for an exam to begin. Eleanor, if this is about last night, this is about the last 3 years, I interrupt gently. Last night was simply the moment when I realized I couldn't keep accepting what was happening. I open the folder and take out the first document, a bank statement from my checking account. I want to start with some facts. Numbers don't lie and they don't have emotions. They simply are. Kevin leans forward with an encouraging expression. Susan sits silently, her presence a steady support. This is my primary checking account. James, Rachel, I want you to look at the recurring monthly payments. I pass the statement to my son, watching him as he reviews the numbers. These payments, Mom? This is the mortgage payment and the property taxes. His voice trails off as understanding dawns. And the homeowner's insurance. Yes. And the water and electric bills during the winter months, when heating is most expensive. Rachel, pale, reaches for the statement. I don't understand. I thought James's salary covered these expenses. James's salary covers many things, but not everything. It never has. I retrieve another set of documents. These are the receipts for Lily's piano lessons, her school supplies, the tuition for summer camp, and this is the receipt for the appliance repairs last month, and the roof work in the spring. Silence stretches as they process this information. Lily watches her parents with growing comprehension, piecing together a puzzle whose existence she hadn't known. Mom, James says slowly, I had no idea you were covering so much. Why didn't you tell us? Because I didn't want you to feel obligated or guilty. I wanted to help you because I love you, not because you owed me something. But we did owe you, Kevin interjects. We all do. Rachel flushes. Eleanor, I appreciate everything you've done, but you chose to help with these expenses. No one forced you to pay anything. You're absolutely right, I agree. I chose to help, just like I chose to stay silent. Just like I chose to accept being excluded from family decisions, being banished from family dinners, and being offered garbage food last night. The words hang in the air like a confession. James looks confused, but Kevin's face darkens with anger. What do you mean she offered you garbage? Kevin asks in a dangerously low voice. Rachel's face goes pale and red. It wasn't like that. Rachel offered me leftover pasta from the trash can, I add quietly. She literally served me food from the garbage while you and your guests ate dinner that I helped pay for. James turns his head toward Rachel. You did what? It wasn't like that, Rachel protests. But her voice lacks conviction. It was spoiled food, I say simply. And you served it to me smiling, pretending you were doing me a favor. Lily's gasp is audible. She looks at her mother with horror and disbelief. Mom, you didn't really do that. Tell me you didn't really do that. Rachel's composure breaks. Lily, you don't understand. It's complicated. Adults sometimes have to make difficult decisions. There's nothing complicated about serving your family garbage, Kevin says, his voice cutting through Rachel's excuses. That's not a difficult decision. That's cruelty. I was trying to help. Rachel insists. Eleanor hadn't eaten, and I thought. You thought you'd feed her garbage? Susan interjects, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. You thought you'd humiliate her one more time, push her a little further. See how much she'd accept? That's not fair, James says, but his voice lacks conviction. Rachel wouldn't hurt Mom on purpose. She wouldn't. Wouldn't she? I ask quietly. James, when was the last time you asked for my opinion on a family decision? When was the last time I was included in dinner without having to ask? When was the last time Rachel spoke to me without that cutting tone that suggests I'm a nuisance? James opens his mouth to respond, but closes it. Silence stretches as he searches his memory, finding only uncomfortable truths. That's what I thought. I continue. Now let me show you something else. I pull out a leather portfolio I've kept locked away for years. This is the deed to this house. Rachel's sharp intake of breath is audible. What do you mean? I mean that when your father and I bought this house 32 years ago, we put it in my name only. When he died, it remained in my name. And it still is. I hand the deed to James, watching as his face transforms as he reads. But I thought Dad left the house to both of us. James stammers. Your father left everything to me, with the understanding that I would take care of the family. And I have. This house, the savings account that paid for your college education, the emergency fund that helped you through those difficult early years of marriage. It has all been mine to give. Kevin whistles under his breath. My God, Mom. Why did you never tell us? Because I didn't want you to feel threatened or burdened. I wanted you to feel secure in your home, not like you were living on my charity. I looked directly at Rachel. But charity requires gratitude, not contempt. Rachel's face is now tomato red. Are you threatening to evict us? I'm stating facts. What you do with them is up to you. I pull out another document. This is a letter your father wrote to me 3 months before he died. I'd like to read a passage. The room falls completely silent. Even Lily seems to be holding her breath. Eleanor, my love. I begin with a steady voice, despite the emotion the words convey. I know I won't be here to protect you from the world, but I hope our sons will be. I hope they'll remember all the nights you stayed up with their fevers, all the dreams you put aside to support theirs, all the love you gave without asking for anything in return. If they ever forget, remind them that you deserve better than to be forgotten by those you love most. I fold the letter carefully, looking at my family. James's eyes glisten with unshed tears. Kevin stares at his hands. Lily moves closer to me, her small hand finding mine. I've spent 3 years letting myself be forgotten. I continue. 3 years accepting less and less respect, less and less consideration, until yesterday, when I realized I was literally being given garbage. That's when I knew your father was right. It was time to remind you. Mom, James says with a voice heavy with emotion. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I thought. You thought Rachel handled the household, and you didn't need to pay attention to the details. You thought I was content to fade into the background. You were wrong. Rachel finally finds her voice. What do you want from us, Eleanor? An apology. Well, I apologize for the dinner incident. I was stressed and wasn't thinking clearly. I want more than an apology for one incident. I say firmly. I want acknowledgement of the pattern. I want genuine change. I want to be treated as a member of this family, not as an unwelcome guest in my own home. Susan leans forward. Eleanor, show them the other thing. I nod and pull out a final document, a handwritten letter I finished this morning. This is a letter to my attorney, requesting that he begin the process of selling this house and transferring the proceeds to a trust for Lily's college education. I haven't sent it yet, but I wrote it to clarify my thinking. The reaction is immediate and explosive. It's not your house, I respond calmly. It's mine. But you're right that it has been your home, and I don't want to take that from you. What I want is to ensure that we can all live here together with mutual respect. James looks stunned. Mom, please, don't make hasty decisions. We can work this out. I'm not making hasty decisions, James. I've been thinking about this for months. I've been patient, quiet, and accommodating, and it's gotten me nowhere. So now I'm going to be direct. Kevin stands up. Serious? What do you need from us, Mom? Specifically, I appreciate his frankness. I need to be included in family decisions that affect me. I need to be treated as an equal contributor to this household, not as someone who is supported. I need Rachel to speak to me with basic courtesy and respect, and I need everyone to remember that I'm not just James's mother or Lily's grandmother. I'm Eleanor, a person in my own right. That seems reasonable, Kevin says, looking pointedly at Rachel. Rachel's composure finally breaks completely. This is ridiculous. I've been managing this house for years, taking care of everyone's needs, making sure everything runs perfectly. One bad moment doesn't erase all that. You're right, I agree. One bad moment doesn't erase the good things you've done. But one good action doesn't justify a pattern of disrespect either. Rachel, you've made it clear through 1,000 small details that you see me as a burden. Last night was just the moment when I finally accepted what you've been telling me all along. Lily, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly speaks. Mom, is it true? Did you really give Grandma rotten food from the garbage? The container was on top of the garbage can, Rachel admits reluctantly. Lily's face crumples. That's awful, Mom. Grandma helps us with everything. She pays for my piano lessons. She helps me with homework and listens when I'm sad. How could you give her garbage? The simple honesty of a 13-year-old cuts through all the adult justifications and excuses. Rachel sits heavily, covering her face with her hands. I didn't think of it that way, she whispers. I was overwhelmed and stressed, and just wasn't thinking. That's the problem. I tell her gently. You haven't seen me as someone whose feelings matter. You've seen me as an obligation to manage. I look at my family. My complex, imperfect, beloved family. What happens next depends on all of us. I've shown you the truth about our situation. I've told you what I need. The question is whether we can build something better together, or if we need to make difficult changes. The weight of that statement settles over the room like a blanket. For the first time in years, I feel truly seen, truly heard. Whatever happens, I know I've reclaimed my voice. The days following our family meeting feel like walking through a house where all the furniture has been rearranged. Everyone moves more carefully, speaks with more consideration, but the underlying tension hasn't disappeared. It's simply transformed into something more honest. Rachel has been especially quiet, spending long hours in her home office with the door closed. When she does emerge, she looks at me with an expression I can't quite decipher. Part shame, part confusion, part something that might be fear. James hovers between us like a nervous diplomat, eager to fix things but unsure how. The breaking point comes Thursday night when Rachel finally explodes. I'm in the kitchen preparing dinner when she storms in, her face red with anger and her hands trembling. I can't live like this anymore, she announces in a voice so high it could cut glass. Like what? Like I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. Like every word I say is being judged, measured, and found wanting. She drops her purse against the counter with such force that the salt shaker jumps. This is psychological warfare, Eleanor, and I won't tolerate it. James appears in the doorway, drawn by Rachel's voice. Lily follows, her eyes wide with concern. Rachel, please, lower your voice, James says. But she turns on him immediately. Don't you dare tell me to lower my voice. Do you have any idea what it's been like living under this microscope? Having every action analyzed for disrespect or ingratitude? Nobody is analyzing your actions, I say, putting down my knife and turning to face her. I'm just asking to be treated with basic courtesy. Rachel's laugh is bitter. You've turned this entire family upside down. You've revealed you've been keeping financial scorecards for decades. You've threatened to disinherit people. And you call that asking for basic courtesy? Kevin, who has been staying with us these last few days, joins the growing crowd in the kitchen. His presence seems to fuel Rachel's anger rather than calm it. And now we have the whole family here to witness whatever comes next, she continues. This is part of your plan too, isn't it, Eleanor? Humiliating me in front of everyone. There is no plan, I respond firmly. There's only honesty. Honesty? Rachel's voice rises. You want honesty? Fine. Here's some honesty. I resent you. I resent that you've been living in our house. My house? I correct quietly. I resent that you've been living in this house, inserting yourself into every decision, making me feel like a guest in my own life. I resent that my husband turns to you for advice before talking to me. I resent that my daughter loves you more than she loves me. That's not true, Lily protests, stepping forward. I don't love Grandma more. Don't lie to spare my feelings, Rachel snaps. I see how you light up when she enters the room. I see how you rush to tell her about your day before telling me. I see how you confide things in her that you won't tell me. The pain in Rachel's voice is raw and real. It cuts through my anger and reaches something deeper. For the first time, I see not just her behavior but the hurt motivating it. Rachel, I begin, but she's not finished. Do you want to know why I served you that food from the trash? Because for one moment I wanted you to feel as worthless as you make me feel every day. I wanted you to understand what it's like to be treated like you don't matter. The confession hangs in the air like a physical presence. James looks stricken. Lily looks confused. And Kevin's face reflects a mixture of understanding and disapproval. I never meant to make you feel worthless, I tell her softly. You didn't have to try, Rachel responds, her voice breaking. It just happened. Every time you quietly solved a problem I didn't even know existed. Every time you provided something I couldn't. Every time you were the grandmother Lily deserved. When I felt like I was failing as a mother. Tears run down her face, but she doesn't seem to notice. Do you know what it's like to compete with your husband's mother for the right to be the woman of the house? Do you know what it's like to feel like you're never enough because there's always someone else to fix things? The kitchen falls silent, except for Rachel's ragged breathing. I feel the weight of her words, the truth buried beneath years of resentment and misunderstanding. I didn't know, I admit. I thought I was helping. You were helping, she acknowledges. That's what made it all worse. I couldn't even hate you properly, because you really were trying to make our lives better. But every time you helped, it reminded me that I alone wasn't enough. James finally finds his voice. Rachel, why didn't you tell me you felt this way? She laughs bitterly. What do I say? That I was jealous of your mother? That I felt like a failure compared to a woman who raised two successful sons and made it look easy? How does a grown woman admit something like that? Rachel looks at him, then at each member of the family. Honesty, she repeats. That's what we're calling it, because it feels more like a confession under torture. No one is torturing you, I tell her, moving closer. But we can't fix what we don't acknowledge. Fix? Rachel's voice rises again. What makes you think I want to be fixed? What makes you think any of this is fixable? Why are you still here? Lily says suddenly, her young voice cutting through the adult drama with surprising clarity. If you really hated living with Grandma, if you really couldn't stand being part of this family, you would have left. But you're here, fighting for your place in it. Rachel stares at her daughter, momentarily speechless. Lily's right, James says, moving to his wife's side. You're not fighting to get away from us. You're fighting to be seen as part of us. I have been part of this family for 15 years. Rachel protests, but her voice lacks the venom of before. Have you? I ask gently. Or have you been fighting not to be part of this? The question stops her. She looks around the kitchen, the family photos on the refrigerator, the coffee maker I bought, because I knew she preferred a different brand than James, the herb garden visible through the window that we planted together when she first moved in. I don't know, she admits softly. I don't know anymore. Susan chooses that moment to knock on the back door. With her usual impeccable timing, I brought cake, she calls through the glass, then stops short when she sees our faces. I should come back later, huh? No, I say, opening the door. Come in, Susan. We're talking about family and your family. Rachel flushes. I don't need an audience for this. You're not performing, Susan says, setting her cake on the counter and surveying the scene with her nurse's sharp eye. You're communicating. There's a difference. She looks directly at Rachel. I've been watching this family for 3 years. Honey, I've seen how you treat Eleanor, and I've seen how it's been eating you up inside. Want my opinion? Not particularly, Rachel mutters. But Susan continues anyway. I think you're afraid. Afraid that if you let yourself love Eleanor the way she deserves to be loved, you'll lose some part of yourself. Afraid there isn't enough room in this family for both of you to be important. That's ridiculous, Rachel starts, but Susan holds up a hand. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been trying to make yourself indispensable by making Eleanor dispensable. But families don't work that way. Honey, love isn't a zero-sum game. Rachel's composure finally crumbles completely. She sinks into one of the kitchen chairs, covering her face with her hands as sobs shake her shoulders. I don't know how to do this, she whispers between breaths. I don't know how to be a good daughter-in-law. I don't know how to share my family without feeling like I'm losing them. Lily immediately goes to her mother and wraps her thin arms around her. You're not losing us, Mom. We're just expanding. The simple wisdom of a 13-year-old breaks something in the room. James sits beside his wife and takes her hand. Kevin moves to stand near me in a gesture of support. Susan begins making tea in silence, her presence a calming influence. Rachel, I say, pulling up the chair across from her. Look at me. She raises her head. Her eyes are red and swollen. I never wanted to replace you, I tell her. I wanted to support you. I wanted to be the grandmother Lily deserved, and the mother-in-law who made your life easier, not harder. Then why did everything I did feel wrong? Why did I always feel like I was falling short? Because you were trying to be perfect instead of real, Susan interjects gently. Eleanor isn't perfect, honey. She's just been doing this longer. I raised 2 sons. I add, I made countless mistakes. I had moments of doubt and frustration and failure. But I learned from them and kept trying. That's all any of us can do. Rachel wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I wanted Lily to see me as strong and capable. I wanted James to see me as the woman who could do everything. I wanted you to see me as worthy of your son. I do see you as worthy of my son, I tell her firmly. I see you as the woman who loves him, who makes him laugh, who encourages him to be better. I see you as the mother who read to Lily every night, who volunteers at her school, who cares about her future. I see you as family. Even after everything I've done, especially after everything you've done, I understand why you did it now. James squeezes her hand. We all make mistakes when we're afraid, Wretch. The question is, what do we do now? Rachel looks at all of us in the kitchen, her husband, her daughter, her mother-in-law, and the family friend who has become a second mother to everyone. Start over, Lily suggests. You and Grandma start over, but this time as friends instead of competitors. Is that possible? Rachel asks, looking directly at me. Do you want it to be possible? She nods, her eyes still wet with tears. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of feeling inadequate. I'm tired of Lily seeing us fight. Then let's stop fighting, I suggest. Let's start building something together instead of tearing it down. We all turn to look at him. I'm moving back to Detroit, he announces. I've been transferred. I'll be here in 6 weeks. Kevin, Lily exclaims, jumping up to hug her uncle. I realized something during all this, he continues. I've been so focused on avoiding family drama that I forgot families are supposed to support each other through the drama. I want to be here for all of you, through the good and the difficult. Rachel looks at him with something like hope. Does that mean you don't think we're too broken to fix? I think we're just broken enough to become something stronger, he replies. But only if we're willing to do the work. Susan places a cup of tea in front of Rachel. The work starts with forgiveness, honey. Forgiving Eleanor for being human instead of perfect. Forgiving yourself for being afraid instead of secure. Forgiving your family for not being mind readers. And it continues with change, I add. Real change, not just good intentions. Rachel takes a sip of tea, her hands steadier now. What changes? We start including each other instead of excluding, James suggests. We start talking about problems instead of avoiding them, adds Kevin. We start treating each other as allies instead of enemies, adds Lily. We start building a family where everyone has a place and no one has to fight for it, I conclude. Rachel sets down her cup and looks around. I want that. I want all of that. It's just that I don't know how. None of us knows how, Susan points out. That's why it's called learning. Will you help me? Rachel asks in a whisper. Will you teach me how to be better? The question is directed at me, but I see that it's really directed at all of us. We'll help each other, I promise. That's what families do. For the first time in 3 years, the kitchen feels like the heart of a home instead of a battlefield. The confrontation is over, but the real work is just beginning. 3 months have passed since our confrontation in the kitchen, And the changes in our family dynamic are subtle and profound. It's like watching a garden recover from a harsh winter. Some growth is immediate and obvious, while other changes take time to become visible. Rachel and I have developed what we call our morning coffee ritual. Every day at 7:30 we sit together at the kitchen table for 15 minutes before the chaos of the day begins. We don't always talk about important things. Sometimes we discuss the weather, share articles we've read, or plan dinner, but the consistency of the ritual has created space for us to know each other as people, not just as roles in the family structure. This morning, Rachel seems unusually quiet as she stirs her coffee. There's something hesitant in her posture, as if she's gathering courage to say something difficult. Eleanor, she begins, stops, and starts again. I've been thinking about what you said 3 months ago about the difference between garbage and treasure. I set down my cup and give her my full attention. What about it? I think I've been treating treasures like garbage. She looks at me seriously. Not just you, Lily, James, this whole life we've built together. I've been so focused on what I thought I was missing that I couldn't see what I actually had. What made you realize that? She smiles sadly. Lily's school counselor called me yesterday. She wanted to tell me how proud she is of Lily's recent growth, how she's gained confidence. She's more willing to speak up in class and connects more with her classmates. Lily has been thriving, I agree. She seems happier, more at ease. The counselor mentioned something interesting. She said Lily had told her that her family had learned to be a real family this year. When I asked Lily what she meant, she said that before, we all lived in the same house but weren't really living together. Now we are. Rachel's voice breaks. Children often see things more clearly than adults, I observe. We complicate things with our fears and pride and assumptions. Speaking of assumptions, says Rachel, reaching into her bag and pulling out a small wrapped package. I have something for you. I accept the package, surprised by its weight. Inside is a beautifully crafted ceramic mug with deep blue glaze. Around the rim, in elegant calligraphy, are the words, "Treasured Mother." It's to replace the one that disappeared, she explains quietly. I threw it away during one of my worst moments, when I was feeling particularly resentful and petty. I told myself I was just decluttering, but really I was trying to erase another little piece of your presence in the house. The confession doesn't surprise me. I had suspected when my favorite mug vanished, but hearing her admit it moves me nonetheless. A local artist made a replacement, she continues. I wanted it to be special, not just a substitute, because you're not just James's mother or Lily's grandmother. You're a treasure to all of us. There's something else, she says, and I can hear the nervousness in her voice. I've been seeing a therapist about my jealousy, my insecurity, my need to control everything. I wanted you to know that I'm not just promising to change, I'm working on it. That takes courage. It takes desperation, she corrects with a self-deprecating laugh. But Dr. Patterson says, that's often where real change begins. When the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of changing. And what has it helped you understand? Rachel is quiet for a moment, organizing her thoughts. That my behavior toward you had nothing to do with you. It had to do with my fear of not being enough, not smart enough, not loving enough, not worthy enough to be part of this family. So I tried to make you smaller, to make myself feel bigger. And now I'm learning that there's room for both of us to be important, that your love for James and Lily doesn't diminish the love they have for me, that your contributions to this family don't invalidate mine. Lily chooses that moment to enter the kitchen, still, in her pajamas with her hair sticking up. She stops short when she sees the mug in my hands. Wow, Mom, you actually gave it to her, she says with a smile. I was wondering when you'd get up the courage. You knew about this? I ask. Mom asked me to help choose the words for the mug. We went through like 10 different options. World's best mother-in-law seemed too generic. Sorry I was so awful seemed too depressing. Treasured mother seemed perfect. Rachel's face flushes. Maybe I overthought it. You thought about it just right, I assure her. It's perfect. Lily pours herself a glass of orange juice and sits at the table with us. So you're friends now. Real friends. We're working on it, says Rachel, looking at me. Real friendship takes time, but we're not enemies anymore. That's definite progress, I add. Good, says Lily with satisfaction, because I have something to tell both of you, and I need you to be friends for this. Rachel and I look at each other. What is it, sweetheart? I ask. I want to invite some friends over for my birthday party next month, but I want it to be here, with both of you helping. I want to show them what my family is really like. What is your family really like? Rachel asks with evident curiosity. Lily considers this seriously. Complicated, but loving. Imperfect, but real. The kind of family where people make mistakes but also fix them. Where grandmothers and mothers work together instead of competing. That sounds like a family worth celebrating, I say. It is, Lily agrees. And I want to celebrate it with chocolate cake and pizza. And I want all my friends to see how lucky I am. After Lily leaves to get ready for school, Rachel and I sit in comfortable silence, drinking our coffee from our respective mugs. Hers a simple white ceramic, mine a beautiful blue treasure. Can I ask you something? Rachel says finally. Of course. Do you think we would have figured this out eventually, without the confrontation? I consider her question carefully. Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes families drift apart so slowly that no one notices until the distance becomes unbridgeable. Sometimes it takes a crisis to wake everyone up. I'm glad we woke up, she says quietly. I was becoming someone I didn't like, and I was teaching Lily to accept disrespect as normal. That's not the legacy I want to leave. What legacy do you want to leave? She thinks for a moment. I want Lily to know that families can heal from hurt, that people can change and grow and be better, that love isn't about being perfect, it's about being authentic and trying to be better. That's a beautiful legacy. I hope so, because I'm going to need the next 15 years to prove it. James appears in the doorway, dressed for work but moving slowly, as if he doesn't want to leave. Good morning, you two. You look like you're plotting something. We're planning Lily's birthday party, Rachel says. Your mom and I are going to coordinate the decorations and food together. Together? James asks as if he can hardly believe it. Together, I confirm. It turns out we work well as a team when we're working toward the same goal instead of against each other. James's smile is radiant. I love seeing you like this. It's like, I don't know, like I can finally relax. What do you mean? Rachel asks. I mean, I spent 3 years feeling like I was walking a tightrope, trying to please everyone and feeling like I was failing them all. Now I feel like I can just be a husband and father instead of a referee. You were never a good referee anyway, Rachel teases gently. Terrible. I agree. Always trying to avoid making calls instead of enforcing the rules. James laughs, and the sound fills the kitchen with warmth. Well, I'm glad my incompetence led you both to work things out on your own. After he leaves for work, Rachel and I finish our coffee in companionable silence. As she prepares to leave for her job, she pauses in the kitchen doorway. Eleanor, thank you. For what? For not giving up on me. For seeing beyond my behavior to what was driving it. For treating me like family, even when I wasn't acting like it. Thank you for being willing to change. For caring enough about this family to do the hard work of healing it. Everything's going to be okay, isn't it? She asks. And I can hear the vulnerability beneath the confidence. I look around the kitchen. The family photos on the refrigerator. The herb garden visible through the window. The coffee mugs representing our old life and our new beginning. We're going to be better than okay, I tell her. We're going to be authentic. After she leaves, I sit alone with my beautiful new mug, thinking about the journey that brought us here. 3 months ago, I was served garbage and treated as if I were disposable. Today, I hold a treasure created with love and given with respect. The transformation didn't happen overnight, nor was it without difficulties. But it happened because we were all willing to do something radical. We decided to see each other as human beings worthy of love and respect, rather than as obstacles to our own happiness. As I wash the morning dishes, I find myself humming something I haven't done in years. The melody is simple and cheerful, the sound of a woman who has reclaimed her place in her life. Tonight, I'll use my new mug for evening tea. Tomorrow, Rachel and I will plan Lily's birthday party. Next week, Kevin will arrive at his new job and his new place in the family. And through it all, we'll continue the daily work of being an imperfect, complicated, but authentic family. I've learned that the difference between garbage and treasure isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes the most valuable things come disguised as problems to solve, conflicts to resolve, or relationships to rebuild. Sometimes treasure looks like a family brave enough to change. The autumn air brings the scent of burning leaves and the promise of winter. As I sit on the porch watching Lily and her friends play in the yard, her birthday party was a rousing success, full of pizza and laughter, and the chaos that comes when teenagers feel completely at ease. What moved me most wasn't the party itself, but seeing Rachel and me working together to create it, moving around each other in the kitchen with an ease that would have been impossible 6 months ago. It was watching Lily's face light up as she introduced her friends, my mom and my grandma, who are like a team now. It was overhearing one of her friends whisper, "Your family is so cool, they actually like each other." 6 months ago, that observation would have been impossible. Today it seems like the most natural thing in the world. "Grandma," Lily calls from the yard, "come see what Uncle Kevin brought." I go down the porch steps to where Kevin is unpacking something from his car. He's been back in Detroit for 2 months, and his presence has given our family a stability I didn't know we were missing. "Family traditions," I say, understanding immediately. "Exactly. I thought it was time to start creating some new ones." James comes out of the garage carrying firewood. "I love the idea. What do you think, Lily?" "It's perfect," she says, her cheeks flushed from running with her friends. "We can use it tonight after everyone goes home." "I don't see why not," says Rachel, joining us from the house. She's carrying a tray of hot chocolate and marshmallows, already thinking ahead to our evening plans. As night falls and Lily's friends go home, our family naturally gravitates to the backyard. Kevin lights the fire while James arranges chairs in a circle. Rachel and I work together preparing s'mores, a task that 6 months ago would have been fraught with tension, but now feels pleasantly routine. "You know," says Rachel, as we arrange graham crackers on a plate, "I've been thinking about what you said that night in the kitchen about investing in the people you love." "What about it?" "I realize I've been thinking about relationships all wrong. I was so focused on what I might lose that I never considered what I might gain." "And what have you gained?" She looks through the window at our family gathered around the fire. A mother-in-law who's also a friend. A daughter who's proud of her family instead of embarrassed by our dysfunction. A husband who doesn't have to choose sides anymore. "And what have you lost?" "The exhaustion of always being on guard. The loneliness of feeling like a stranger in my own family. The guilt of knowing I was hurting the people I care about." We carry the supplies outside, where Kevin has coaxed the fire into a warm, steady flame. The chairs form a perfect circle, and for the first time in years, I notice that no one is sitting apart from the group. "This is nice," says Lily, settling into her chair with a contented sigh. "Now we look like a real family." "We always were a real family," James corrects gently. "We just weren't a healthy family." "What's the difference?" Lily asks with genuine curiosity. "A real family shares DNA and history," I explain. "A healthy family shares respect and support." "And love," adds Rachel. "Real love, not just the kind you're supposed to feel because you're related." Kevin pokes the fire with a stick, sending sparks dancing toward the darkening sky. "I think healthy families also share honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Sitting around the fire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories. I marvel at the transformation. 6 months ago, this scene would have been impossible. Rachel and I would have politely avoided each other. James would have tried to manage the tension with anxiety. Lily would have been withdrawn and insecure. Now Rachel asks my opinion about her work projects. I share anecdotes from my teaching days that make her laugh. James includes both of us in family decisions without seeming to weigh every word. Lily moves freely between all of us, secure in the knowledge that she doesn't have to choose sides because there are no sides to choose. I have an announcement, Kevin says as we finish our second round of s'mores. We all turn to look at him expectantly. I've been seeing someone, he says with a slight blush visible even in the firelight. Her name is Melissa, and she's a social worker here in Detroit. I'd like to invite her to dinner next week. If that's okay with everyone. Of course it is, Rachel says immediately. We'd love to meet her. Does she know about our family's dramatic history? James asks with a smile. She knows we've been through some changes lately, Kevin says diplomatically. I told her we've learned to be better to each other. That's a good way of putting it, I say. We have learned to be better. Lily yawns and stretches. I'm really happy, she announces matter-of-factly. I know that sounds weird to just say, but I am. I feel like I can relax at home now. Couldn't you relax before? Rachel asks with evident concern. Not really. I was always worried about saying the wrong thing or upsetting someone. I felt like I had to be careful around everyone. Oh, honey, says Rachel, reaching out to squeeze Lily's hand. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to feel like you had to walk on eggshells. It's okay, Mom. It's different now. Better. How is it different? I ask, genuinely curious about her perspective. Lily takes this very seriously. Before it seemed like everyone was pretending to be happy but was actually angry or sad. Now it seems like everyone is actually happy, even when they're dealing with hard stuff. That's very insightful, James says with pride. I think it's because everyone learned to tell the truth, Lily continues. To tell the real truth, not just the polite truth. The polite truth? Kevin asks. You know, like when someone asks how you are and you say fine, even when you're not fine. Or when someone does something that hurts you but you say, it's okay even though it's not okay. We did a lot of that, I admit. I spent 3 years saying it's fine when it wasn't, and I spent 3 years pretending I didn't care when I actually cared too much, adds Rachel. I spent 3 years trying to keep everyone happy instead of helping them be honest, says James. And I spent 3 years staying away instead of helping everyone solve their problems, concludes Kevin. Lily nods wisely. But now you tell the truth. And the truth is easier to handle than the polite truth. When did you get so wise? I ask, amazed by her insight. I've always been wise, she says with a smile. You just started listening to me. The fire begins to die down. As the night progresses, we could add more wood, extend the evening, but there's something perfect about ending with Lily's observation. We've all learned to listen to each other, and that listening has made all the difference. As we gather the supplies and prepare to go inside, Rachel falls into step beside me. Eleanor, she says quietly, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you for fighting for this family. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for being willing to change, I respond. It would have been easier to stay defensive, to keep blaming me for the problems, but instead, you chose to do the hard work. We all did, she says, and look what we got. I look around and see our family, Kevin and James discussing weekend plans, Lily helping carry chairs, Rachel walking beside me as an equal partner in the daily life of this family. What did we get? I ask. We got each other, she says simply. Later, as I prepare for bed, I think about the journey that brought us here. It began with a moment of humiliation. I was served garbage as if I were disposable. But that moment became a catalyst for transformation, forcing all of us to reconsider our assumptions about family, respect, and love. I think about the woman I was 6 months ago, invisible, ignored, slowly disappearing from my own life. I think about the woman I am now, seen, valued, fully present in a family that acknowledges my worth. The transformation didn't happen overnight, nor was it without pain, but it happened because we were all willing to do something radical. We decided to see each other as human beings deserving of respect and love, rather than as obstacles to our own happiness. As I turn off the lights and settle into bed, I can hear the sounds of my family preparing for sleep. James and Rachel talking quietly in their room, Lily on the phone with a friend, Kevin moving around in the guest room that has become his temporary home until he finds his own place. These are the sounds of a family at peace with itself. Not perfect, not without challenges, but genuine, healthy, and whole. My name is Eleanor Miller, and for over 60 years my life has revolved around family. But only in the last 6 months have I learned the difference between serving a family and being part of one. I've discovered that the difference lies in dignity. When you serve a family, you're dispensable, useful when needed, invisible when not. When you're part of a family, you're indispensable, not for what you do, but for who you are. Tonight I sleep in a house where I am not only loved, but respected, where my contributions are acknowledged and my presence is valued, where I am not seen as a burden to be managed, but as a treasure to be cherished. The journey from garbage to treasure wasn't easy, but it was worth every difficult conversation, every uncomfortable truth, every moment I stood up for myself when it would have been easier to remain silent. This is what dignity looks like. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of respect. Not the avoidance of conflict, but the courage to resolve it. Not the pretense of perfection, but the commitment to growth. And this is what family looks like when dignity is restored. Messy, complicated, and real, but also loving, supportive, and complete. As I drift to sleep, I'm already looking forward to tomorrow morning coffee with Rachel, evening conversations with James, afternoon projects with Lily, weekend adventures with Kevin, all the ordinary moments that make life worth living, all the ways we'll continue to choose each other day after day as we build the family we want to be. 1 year later, the Thanksgiving table is larger this year, expanded to include Melissa, who has become a cherished addition to our family, and Susan and Tom, who have always been family in all but name. Conversation flows naturally, punctuated by laughter and the comfortable silences that come when people genuinely enjoy each other's company. Lily, now 15 and on the cusp of adulthood, raises her glass of sparkling cider. "I want to make a toast," she announces. "To what?" Kevin asks, his arm around Melissa's shoulders. "To second chances," says Lily, looking at each of us in turn. "To families that have the courage to change, and to grandmothers who know the difference between garbage and treasure. To Eleanor," adds Rachel, lifting her glass, "for teaching us that dignity isn't something given, but something claimed." "To all of us," I respond, my voice steady despite the emotion it carries. "For learning that the best families aren't the ones that never have problems, they're the ones that solve them together." As we toast, I catch Rachel's eye across the table. She smiles at me, not with the polite smile of our early days, but with the genuine warmth of a friend and fellow traveler on this family journey. Later, as we clean up together, moving around each other with the relaxed rhythm of long practice, I realize that this is exactly where I belong. Not on the periphery of my family's life, but at its heart. Not as a shadow, but as a vital, valued, irreplaceable part of the whole. My name is Eleanor Miller, and I am a treasure.